Yeah, you guys saw the title of this video. I have triggered the TERFs. Not that that was the intention of my most recent video, titled TERF Debunked by Neuroscientists. Mainly, I just wanted to open people's eyes and educate them with some of the information that cured me of my transphobia. But I got a lot of comments from TERFs and other transphobes criticizing me for uploading the video, yet none of them had any valid arguments. In fact, the TERF lady I was responding to just shared my video, told me to leave her alone, called me a gender cultist, and provided no substantive arguments whatsoever. If I recall correctly, though, the first criticism I received was from this guy, Simon Asplund, who says,
"How kind of you."
Which I interpret as sarcasm because he goes on to say,
"One of your oldest followers censored over one disagreement."
And this, of course, left me scratching my head wondering, what disagreement? And did this motherfucker just erroneously accuse me of censoring him? So I asked him, are you saying I censored you? And so far, I've gotten no response. Maybe he just didn't get the notification. I don't know. But it kind of looks like he's erroneously accusing me of censoring him. In fact, I found another comment from him in my notifications that just isn't showing up in my comment section. Maybe he thinks I deleted it. Don't know if he retracted it or if YouTube thought it was spam and deleted it, but for whatever reason, beyond my control, it's just not showing up in my comment section. It's not like I deleted it. There's no reason to. It doesn't even come across as any kind of disagreement to me. It's just perfectly valid questions.
Is gender a fact or a social construct? How important is it?
Well, according to Professor Norden,
it's a construct created by the brain related to one's perceived sexual identity. So this is a construct created by the individual related to which sex they identify with. Now, what we have found out in neuroscience, and we think that gender identification is more related to this, neuroscience has in fact found another category. It's revealed another category of sex called brain sex. And brain sex means that the actual structural and thus likely to be functional differences in the way brains are organized in male and female may in fact relate to differences in how males and females relate to their environment and also gender identification. Now, what happens in the little developing male fetus who doesn't produce enough testosterone? And this does happen. If those little gonads don't produce enough testosterone, so there isn't enough to get into the brain and thereby be converted within certain groups of neurons into estradiol, that male will develop a female brain. We also can be able, in physicians, in the medical community, be able to use this material. Some fraction of babies is born with what is called ambiguous genitalia. And that means that by surgery, they can either be made into a little girl or made into a little boy. And parents are typically asked to make this decision only a few days after birth. If we can gain an understanding of whether that baby has a male or a female brain, we can make sure that the surgery will match the two appropriately. So this is not just basic science. This is information that can help people's lives in a very, very real way.
Oh, and someone in my comment section seemed to think that this talk about brain sex was synonymous with something called transmedicalism. But no, that's something different.
Go ahead into your dream world and be considered a leper by all reasonable people for the rest of time. No debate necessary, apparently. Plastic surgery on the genitals is like getting a tooth repaired. But you should be able to criticize everyone else's unchallenged beliefs without complaint, of course. And you put this up on YouTube of all places? I've never been so disappointed in a creator since I joined in 2006.
I'm living in a dream world because I'm relaying the findings of mainstream neuroscience? Simon, what the fuck? Since when is being a science denier fucking reasonable? What am I supposed to go off of if not the science? Black Tiger Paw 1 asks,
Under what parameters is Samantha Lux a woman?
To which I responded, woman is a gendered identity for an adult female. So if Samantha Lux's brain sex is female, then it's semantically valid for her to identify as a trans woman. To which Adeline Morton responded,
That's been debunked so many times. Brain sex. Lol. What sexist bullshit? I can't believe people are still using that.
oh, brain sex is sexist bullshit, is it? What about phenotypic sex? Is that sexist bullshit? And how about genotypic sex? Is that sexist bullshit too? I don't think this individual thought this one through. But anyway, I went on to explain, I'm familiar with the claim that it's been debunked, but as of yet, that claim has not been adequately substantiated. Do you have a source you would like to share? Okay, now remember, the person I'm asking, if they have a source they would like to share, it's Adeline Morton, okay? So, let's go down here. Let's have a look. Do we see any more Adeline Morton in this thread? At all? Any more Adeline Morton? I see a whole shitload of other fucking names. Let's see. Damn, no Adeline Morton. It's like Adeline Morton never got back to me with a source. Oh, how interesting. But you know, Tiffany came along and Tiffany said,
I shared a link twice for an article explaining why brain sex is a myth / debunked, and it's been removed.
to which I responded, that sucks. Yeah, YouTube does crap like that when people start trying to provide links to articles. If it makes you feel any better, I've probably already heard the arguments and concluded that they don't debunk sexual dimorphism of the brain. If male and female genitals are sending different hormones to the brain, and those hormones are affecting the brain in different ways, as the scientists have explained, then there's going to be sexual differences between male and female brains. One of the rebuttals... okay, it got cut off. Where's the... okay, there's supposed to be like a read more fucking button. We're going to have to do edit. Yeah, there we go. Now we can read the rest of it. YouTube is so fucking glitchy. Jesus Christ. So where were we? Oh yeah, one of the rebuttals I remember hearing from someone trying to debunk dimorphism is that all brains have variations between them regardless of whether they are male or female brains. But Professor Norton seems to adequately address that in the full version of the lecture, which of course is linked there.
There's a lot of variability in every one of our brains, so all of our brains aren't exactly the same. So if we looked in any structure, if we looked at a group of females, for example, there'd be a certain amount of variation in that structure among that group of females. If we looked in males, the same would be true. So when we're talking about sexual dimorphism, we're saying that the differences between males and females are much greater than the differences that exist within either of the groups. So these structures are very different enough that in some cases, any trained scientist could immediately look at a section of the brain through particular areas and would be able to tell you whether that section came from the brain of a male or the brain of a female. So we're talking about pretty big differences here.
All right, so I've Googled neuroscientists debunk sexually dimorphic brains. We're just going to open up a bunch of articles that supposedly debunk the idea of brain sex, the idea that there are male brains and female brains, right? Let's see, so that one's linked to that. Yeah, I'll fast forward this part for you. There we go.
Open that up. Oh, no, that's not what I said to do. Fuck off. All right, okay, that one's actually arguing with the people who are trying to debunk it. Let's see, sex differences in the brain, a whole body perspective, that's not trying to debunk it. Neuroscience, that's not trying to debunk it. Mounting challenges to... yeah, that one's trying to debunk it. Research proves male and female brains are identical! Alright, and then that one just looks like that one all over again.
Alright, so, yeah, we have a bunch of different pages here. We're not going to get into too much detail. It's actually really easy to debunk all of these. I'll show you how. If you recall what neuroscientists were saying about testosterone... no mention at all of fucking testosterone. No mention of, that they're not going to respond to the idea that testosterone masculinizes a brain.
If those little gonads don't produce enough testosterone, so there isn't enough to get into the brain and thereby be converted within certain groups of neurons into estradiol, that male will develop a female brain.
Anyway, so One of those is down. Let's look at the next one. Let's look up testosterone. Oh, no, nothing? No fucking mention of testosterone on that one either. Okay, how about this one? Oh, no. No, really? No fucking mention of testosterone there either. All right, let's try this one. Oh my god. No, nothing. Nothing. All right, how about this one? Guys, research proves male and female brains are identical. Let's see if they really do prove that. No, they don't. They're actually completely fucking full of shit. By the way, if you look at the actual arguments in this article, it's not actually the point of the article to prove that male and female brains are identical. They actually gradually admit, well, there's little subtle differences here or there that can be identified. The actual point of the article is that men are not better than women. Here, I'll prove it. Let's scroll down a little bit. Here it says, Neuroscience and Behavioral Reviews publish research discrediting neurosexism and proving male and female brains are almost identical. Ah, look at that. So that there in the title it was saying male and female brains are identical. Here it's like, well, they're almost identical, right? Scroll down a bit more. It actually admits here the male brain is typically 11% larger than the female brain since birth, and that there's more white matter in the male brain. Right, so it's actually acknowledging, well, yeah, there are some differences between male and female brains. Their point is, this does not prove enhanced or superior cognitive abilities in males, making the claim that bigger brains are better brains utterly incorrect. Patriarchy and sexism have indoctrinated many to believe that the larger size of male brains proves that female brains are incomplete, underdeveloped, or less capable, by discrediting this approach to neurology that is often used to justify the inferiority of women or their inability to integrate into advanced fields. One can finally focus on the social paradigm that conditions females at a young age to feel inferior. Okay, that's the actual fucking point of this. The title is completely fucking misleading. This research does not prove that male and female brains are identical. Yeah, try to keep in mind there's all sorts of people all over the internet trying to debunk all sorts of science. I mean, you have flat earthers trying to debunk globe Earth, and fairly often they also try to debunk gravity and the heliocentrism of our solar system, arguing in favor of a geocentric universe. And of course, there are young Earth creationists trying to debunk the age of the Earth. People trying to debunk the Big Bang Theory. People trying to debunk evolutionary theory. Just because you find articles on the internet claiming they've debunked some sciencey idea doesn't mean the article can't be easily debunked itself if you simply try. But anyway, Layla Sisko says,
You can't debunk the reality of biological sex, dude. Only a male clown NPC thinks males in clown makeup are women. Just shut up and stop putting perverts in our spaces and sports.
To which I responded, I wasn't trying to debunk the reality of biological sex. I was trying to educate people on it. Strawman arguments don't debunk my points. Biological sex breaks down into phenotypic sex, genotypic sex, and brain sex. So if a person's brain sex is different from their phenotypic sex, then evidently they are part male, part female. But I don't have a problem with people getting the privacy they want if they don't want other people in the bathroom or spa room with them. When I am president, I will take measures to ensure you get that privacy.
You have no grasp on anything you're saying. Keep parroting nonsense propaganda on men in clown makeup. They are biologically males, not in between.
I'm relaying mainstream neuroscience and you're accusing me of parroting nonsense propaganda. No offense, but you don't actually have any substantive arguments, do you?
Vanessa makes videos on biological males, not intersex people, clown. Males aren't women ever. Dude is the definition of male. A castration hole isn't a vagina. You're a clown. That's the facts.
I never said a castration hole was a vagina. So you're just stooping to strawman arguments. And my video is intended to put in perspective that someone like Samantha Lux is not exclusively male. She's part male, part female. I'm sorry you have some dogmatic opposition to the real facts.
He's full male with a castration hole. Not a single woman thing about him. Shut up, simp!
The neuroscientists don't agree with you.
Genitals do.
No, I think her genitals would have sent more testosterone to her brain if that were the case.
You're insane. Biological sex is real and men cutting off their sex organs are still men, even if you're not capable of grasping that. You should seek help. You're a simp for dudes with mutilated genitals. It's sad. Your mother would be ashamed of you. Every woman in your family would be. Please don't reproduce.
I'm aware biological sex is real. I never said it wasn't. You're stooping to misrepresentations again because you have no valid arguments.
Then stop calling biological males women. They aren't. Sex organs make you male or female. Cutting them off makes you a castrated man. Figure it out and stop making videos about women. You know actual women, not men who cut their sex organs off.
That's not what the neuroscientists are teaching. Sorry, but I'm not joining your transphobic anti-science cult. I don't think men are allowed in there anyway.
It's called reality. The people who refuse to accept reality and mutilate their healthy body and the bodies of children are in fact the cult, you NPC clown. They're killing their bloodlines and mutilating healthy young people, and I'm trying to help stop it, and I'm in the cult? Dude, you can't come back. You're as far gone and in the matrix as a sheep gets. Sad for you. I, on the other hand, am raising healthy children who know to love their body, and that the media preys on insecurities to steal people's money and sell them surgical procedures they don't need. You're just sad. I, as a woman, know more than you, a man, who doesn't understand biological sex about womanhood and being a woman. More than a man like Samantha, who is a castrated male. Stop arguing with women on being a woman. You look foolish. Only you and your fellow dudes would be so arrogant. It's like arguing with a small, uneducated child.
Professor Norton is a woman.
Are you sure? Did you check her lady brain scans? How do you suddenly know what the word woman means?
I already knew that woman was a word for an adult human female. There's nothing sudden about it. And feminine she, her pronouns are used in her bio.
Well, if a clown doctor told you castrated men have lady brains, it must be true.
That's a misquote. Suffice it to say, her arguments were primarily intellectually dishonest and often came in the form of straw man arguments and personal attacks instead of any kind of actual empirical refutation. In fact, that tends to be how arguments with these TERFs go down. Hey Bort, the editor, says,
the idea of brain sex independent from actual sex is logically impossible. What you're going for here is sex-typical brain. We all know sex categories have trends and outliers. That doesn't change the category markers themselves. You're never going to hit gold with a faulty premise.
Strawman argument. Never said brain sex was independent from actual sex. The YouTube user Jade Waves says,
Samantha Lux had a dick and XY chromosomes. Inverting a dick doesn't make it a vagina or vulva, and his chromosomes remain the same. No amount of semantic manipulation can make him a woman. Cry about it.
This, of course, is another strawman argument. Neither I nor the scientists said or implied that inverting a penis made it a vagina or vulva, and the insinuation of semantic manipulation goes completely unexplained. Look, guys, I'm not being unreasonable here. If you accept that there are male genitalia and female genitalia, and male chromosomes and female chromosomes, why is it so hard to accept that there are male brains and female brains, or that a person born with male genitalia can have a female brain due to some abnormality in their development? When a person's phenotypic sex doesn't match up with their genotypic sex, they are considered intersex. A brain sex not matching up with phenotype or genotype is clearly a similar type of situation.
So what happens if we manipulate the hormonal environment of a male or a female rat during their critical period right after birth when their brains are going to become sexually dimorphic? Note that the animals that we manipulate, we can determine what their genotypic and obviously phenotypic sex are. So let's imagine that we take a female rat pup and we give them testosterone during the critical period. Now, these animals are females genotypically and phenotypically. If we manipulate by giving testosterone during that critical period and never give testosterone again, as adults, those females engage in mounting behavior. They act as males, not as females. If we take little male pups and we castrate them during the critical period, now remember, it's the critical period that's important, not if you do anything any other time, but that critical period. If you castrate little male pups during their critical period, as adults, They show lordosis when they're approached by males, and they also engage in nesting building or nesting behavior. So they act consistent with their brain sex.
Black Tiger Paw 1 says,
That tells me absolutely nothing. Why does brain sex matter, yet everything else that factors into sex, such as gametes, just pseudoscience?
this, of course, is another straw man argument. Are you guys noticing the pattern yet? I never said nor implied everything else was pseudoscience. If a person has a male phenotype and genotype, but a female brain type, then they are part male and part female. And the part that has to do with how they cognitively identify is the female part. The Sharmuda says,
A male can never be a female, it's that simple.
to which I responded, actually, if a trans woman's phenotypic sex is male, but her brain sex is female, then technically she is biologically part male, part female.
And what exactly is brain sex?
Neuroscientist explains in the video at 2:54. Full lecture is available here.
And brain sex means that the actual structural and thus likely to be functional differences in the way brains are organized in male and female may in fact relate to differences in how males and females relate to their environment and also gender identification. The differentiation into two forms, so we say a male and a female form, is referred to as sexual dimorphism of the brain.
Then 25114 comes along and says,
A male's brain is male. To say he has a female brain isn't remotely logical.
to which I responded, someone who is phenotypically and genotypically male can still have a female brain sex. You haven't provided any evidence to the contrary of this or demonstrated the illogic, and the scientists have explained some of the evidence in the video. Such an individual would obviously be part male, part female, not just exclusively male. C's channel says,
Trans is masquerading as the opposite sex. Biology isn't hard.
to which I responded, if a trans woman's brain sex is female, then it doesn't make much sense to say she's masquerading as the opposite sex. And that, of course, was part of the point of the video that they were commenting on. Contrary to the message relayed by the paranoid ramblings of a certain TERF, trans women are not a criminal organization of men pretending to be women as a way to get away with sex crimes. That's not to deny that there might be guys out there who throw on a wig and pretend to be women for criminal reasons, but continuing to conflate those assholes with actual trans women after watching these videos is just intellectually dishonest bigotry against a minority group that was born different. So, as you can see, the TERFs and other transphobes here don't really have any valid arguments. The usual method of argument they stoop to in the face of the information I bring is personal attacks, name-calling, and logical fallacies, with a particular large volume of strawman arguments specifically. But hey, at least this bored alchemist called me a white supremacist for no good reason.